Did you know there are ways of decluttering that actually make your home feel messier? I know it sounds weird, but I fell into that trap more than once. I followed the rules, tried all the popular tips, and still ended up overwhelmed. And somehow stuff was still everywhere. I really thought the answer was to just own less, or get better bins, or follow the one in, one out rule. But turns out some of those tips, if you take them the wrong way, actually make things worse. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 decluttering truths that sound helpful, but might be exactly why you keep feeling stuck. Chances are you're doing 1 or 2 of them right now without even realizing it. The first mistake many people make, and I've done it too, is assuming decluttering just means throwing things out. We hear things like, if you don't use it, toss it. Or, just get rid of 1 thing a day. That sounds simple, and for a moment it does feel good. You fill a few bags, drop them off, and the space looks cleaner. But here's the problem, it doesn't last. I used to go through my closet or drawers and just start pulling things out. If I hadn't used it lately, I'd toss it. If it felt like too much out, it went. But somehow a few weeks later, I'd be right back where I started, same clutter, same stress. And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people I talk to say the same thing, they've decluttered again and again, but their home never really feels done. What I realized is I was focused on what to throw out, instead of what's actually worth keeping. So now I ask myself something else. Do I still use this? Do I still need it in my life today? Not did it cost a lot, or maybe I'll use it one day. Just, is this helping me now? It sounds small, but it makes a huge difference. When I started choosing what to keep, not just what to lose, my space stayed clearer longer. I wasn't decluttering over and over anymore, because the things I kept, I actually used them. They had a place. They made sense for my life now. And that's what makes the mess stop coming back. Before we go to mistake 2, I just want to let you know in the next video I'm sharing something a little different. It's for those moments when you've had enough of the mess and you know it's time to stop waiting and just get it done. No pressure, no perfection, just a clear, honest way to finally take action even when you don't feel ready. But first, let's go back to today's video and talk about the next mistake that keeps so many of us stuck even when we're trying our best. The second mistake I used to make, and I see a lot of people do the same, is thinking that decluttering is all we need to do. Like if the house feels chaotic, the answer must be to clean it up. So we dive into decluttering thinking it will solve everything. But the truth is, that's only part of the picture. Decluttering is helpful, yes, but it doesn't fix why the clutter showed up in the first place. A lot of the time, the mess comes back, not because we didn't throw out enough stuff, but because we haven't looked at what's causing it to build up. It might be habits, routines that aren't working, or the way new stuff keeps coming in without us realizing. For example, I used to think my kitchen was too small. I'd declutter the drawers every month, try to get it under control, but I still couldn't find things when I needed them. Turns out I was still buying duplicates, extra tools, mugs, containers, just in case. And I didn't have any system for where things should go. I didn't need more decluttering. I needed to stop adding and start organizing based on how I actually use the space. Same with clothes. You can declutter your closet every season, but if you keep shopping out of stress or boredom or because of sales, it never ends. The clutter isn't just about stuff. It's about how that stuff got there in the first place. I've seen this happen in a lot of homes. People do a big clear out, but a few weeks later, the piles return. Not because they failed, but because the patterns didn't change. They didn't pause to ask, why do I keep bringing more in? Why is this space always messy again? What's the real reason behind the overflow? The shift comes when you stop treating decluttering like a fix and start treating it like a checkpoint. It's just one tool. The deeper work is about paying attention to how you shop, what you say yes to, and whether your home is set up in a way that actually works for your life. When that happens, you don't just have a clean room, you have fewer problems coming back to clean up later. Number 3. Another common mistake is thinking that minimalism means having as little as possible, that the fewer things you own, the better you're doing. And I've definitely gone through that phase. I'd scroll through photos of empty shelves, capsule wardrobes, kitchens with barely anything on the counter, and I'd think, that's the goal. That's what calm looks like. So I started trying to live with less and less. I got rid of backups, extras, sentimental things. I kept counting how many of each item I had, always asking myself, do I really need this? And while the space looked clean, something felt off. Here's what I learned: owning less doesn't automatically make life easier. In fact, sometimes having too little makes things more stressful. I've had moments where I gave away something and then needed it again 2 weeks later. Or I only kept one pair of shoes that matched everything and ended up annoyed every time it rained. That's not freedom. That's just a different kind of pressure. I've seen this happen to a lot of people too. They go all in on minimalism, try to live with the bare minimum, and then get frustrated when daily life becomes inconvenient. They miss things they used to enjoy, or they end up rebuying what they gave away. That doesn't mean they failed, it just means the version of less they were chasing didn't fit their real life. The truth is, minimalism isn't a number. It's not about having the least. It's about having enough to live well, move through your day with ease, and not feel weighed down by your stuff. What works better is thinking in terms of support. Does this item support how I live right now? If it does, it stays. If it doesn't, if it just takes up space or adds noise, then maybe it's time to let it go. But the goal isn't to impress anyone with how little you own. It's to create a home that feels good for you. When I stopped chasing less and started choosing what works, everything got simpler. I wasn't second-guessing every item. I wasn't trying to shrink my home into a certain look. I was just making sure that what I kept made my life easier, not harder. That's what real simplicity looks like, not less for the sake of less, but enough for the sake of peace. Number 4. One of the biggest misconceptions about decluttering is thinking that once you do it, it's done. Like if you just declutter hard enough one time, your home will stay clean forever. It's kind of like the spring cleaning mindset. You spend a weekend purging everything, organizing like crazy, maybe even labeling a few bins, and then expect things to stay that way. But real life doesn't work like that. Our homes are lived in. Stuff comes in all the time. Groceries, mail, school papers, gifts, random things from the store you didn't plan to buy. Even if you're super mindful, life keeps moving. And things build up again, not because you did anything wrong, but because that's just how life is. I remember spending an entire Saturday clearing out our entryway, shoes, coats, bags, all of it. It looked great when I finished. I told myself, this time it'll stay clean. But a few days later, the same pile of shoes and mail showed up again. Not because I was lazy, but because I didn't set up a routine. I just hoped it would stay clean on its own. And I know so many people who feel discouraged when the clutter returns. They think, didn't I just clean this? Or why do I have to keep doing this over and over? But that's not failure, that's normal. Decluttering isn't a one-and-done project. It's part of how we take care of our space, just like doing the laundry or washing dishes. What's helped me is building tiny habits into my day. Little things like taking 3 minutes each night to reset the kitchen or doing a quick check-in every weekend to see if anything's starting to pile up. It doesn't have to be big, just consistent. Also, being realistic helps. I stopped expecting my home to stay perfectly tidy forever. That pressure only leads to guilt. Instead, I started thinking of decluttering as something I do with my life, not instead of my life. When you see it as ongoing, something you check in with, not fight against, it actually becomes easier. You're not waiting for things to explode before taking action. You're just gently staying aware of what's working and what's not. And that mindset shift, it's what makes the calm actually last. Number 5. Another sneaky mistake that a lot of people don't even realize they're making is decluttering just to make space for new things. You might not say it out loud, but it happens. You clean out a shelf and your next thought is, oh good, now I have room to buy that new set of dishes, or now I can finally get those storage baskets I saw online. It feels productive because you're clearing space, but the mindset is still focused on adding more. I've definitely done this. I'd go through my closet, pull out clothes I didn't wear, donate a few things, and then immediately start browsing online for something fresh to replace them. And it wasn't always about need, it was more about filling the space I had just cleared. Like, empty space felt wrong somehow. And I've heard similar things from others too. People declutter their living room, then go out and buy more throw pillows. Or they organize their pantry and suddenly feel like they need a whole new set of containers. It's subtle, but it's still the more stuff mindset just in disguise. The problem is, this keeps us in the same cycle. Declutter. Feel better. Buy something. Clutter builds again. It doesn't give your home or your brain a real break. It just reshuffles the mess in nicer packaging. What's helped me is pausing after I declutter. Like literally just leaving the empty space alone for a bit. No rush to fill it. No reward shopping. Just noticing how it feels to have a shelf that's not packed or a drawer that actually opens easily. And honestly, that empty space feels better than any new item I could buy. Also, I've learned to ask myself a simple question. Am I buying this to solve a real need, or just to fill a blank spot? Most of the time when I pause long enough, I realize I don't need it. I was just reacting to the feeling of something's missing when actually nothing was. Decluttering should give you breathing room, not just more room to manage. When you let the space stay open, you give yourself time to think more clearly, shop more intentionally, and stop bringing in things you'll just have to deal with later. Less stuff isn't about having less, it's about needing less. And that changes everything. Number 6. Here's a mistake I think a lot of us have made at some point. We hold on to stuff thinking, it's okay, I'll just sell it. On paper, it sounds like a smart move. You get rid of what you don't need and you make a little money back. Win-win, right? But in real life, it's almost never that simple. I remember clearing out a bunch of clothes, kitchen gadgets, and home decor I didn't use anymore. Instead of donating them, I thought I'll list these online. That way, I won't feel like I'm losing money. But then came the photos, the descriptions, the waiting. People would ask, is this still available, and then disappear? Or they'd offer me half the price. Meanwhile, those bags of stuff sat in my hallway for weeks. I still had to look at them, move them around, make space for them. It was like managing a tiny thrift shop out of my living room. And I've heard the same thing from so many others. They hang on to items thinking they'll sell them someday, but that day keeps getting pushed back. Meanwhile, the clutter is still there, just in boxes labeled to sell. It becomes a second job. And often, after all the effort, they barely make enough to justify the time and stress. Of course, if you really enjoy reselling or you've got high-ticket items and a system that works great. But for most people, especially busy women juggling work, kids, and daily life, selling everything isn't realistic. It delays the letting go, and in the meantime, your space stays just as full. What's helped me is being honest with myself, is holding on to this item just to maybe sell it, costing me more in peace and space than I'll make back in cash. If the answer is yes, I'd rather donate it and move on. Let someone else use it now instead of letting it take up energy in my home. Selling isn't bad, but it shouldn't be the default. If it's becoming more work than relief, it might be time to let that plan go and let the item go with it, because freedom now is worth more than maybe $10 later. The 7th mistake, and one that's really common now, is decluttering just to make things look pretty, or because everyone else seems to be doing it. This one's tricky because it happens without us even noticing. You're scrolling through social media and you see someone post their perfectly organized pantry or a living room that looks like it's out of a magazine. And suddenly you look around your own home and feel like everything is too much, too messy, too mismatched, too wrong. So you start decluttering. Not because you felt ready or because something wasn't working, but because you felt behind. You felt like you needed to catch up, to make it look like you have it together. I've done this more times than I'd like to admit. I've started reorganizing a space just because I saw someone else do it. I've gotten rid of things not because they weren't useful, but because they didn't look right. I thought if my home looked more minimalist, more curated, I'd feel better. But here's the truth. Chasing that perfect photo-ready look rarely leads to peace. In fact, it often adds pressure. You declutter something, and then you feel like you need to buy matching containers, or paint the walls, or redo the whole setup to make it more aesthetic. And suddenly, you're not simplifying your life, you're just performing a version of it. I've talked to people who've thrown out things they actually needed later just because they ruined the vibe. Or people who feel bad because their homes don't look like what they see online, even though their space works fine for their real life. That's the thing. Your home doesn't have to impress anyone. It doesn't have to look a certain way to be calm and functional. Decluttering isn't a design competition. It's a personal process. It should support your routines, your comfort, your peace of mind. What's helped me is asking, am I doing this for me or because I think I should? If it's for me, great. But if I'm just trying to recreate something I saw on a screen, I take a step back. The goal is not to make your home look like someone else's version of calm. It's to create a space that actually works for you, even if it's not Pinterest perfect. A space where you can breathe, think clearly, and not feel like you're always behind. When you declutter for the right reasons, your reasons, that's when the change truly lasts. So those were 7 decluttering mistakes that a lot of us fall into sometimes without even realizing it. Maybe you recognized 1 or 2 in your own habits. Maybe all of them. And that's okay. This isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about shifting how we think about our homes and giving ourselves permission to do things differently. Decluttering doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to feel honest, sustainable, and true to how you live. In the next video, we're going to talk about something a little different. A bit of tough love. If you've been stuck in the mess avoiding it or waiting for the right mood to get started, that one's for you. Sometimes we need a gentle push to finally deal with the chaos, and I'll help you do it in a way that feels doable, not punishing. If this video helped you rethink some of the pressure around decluttering, feel free to give it a like, share it with a friend, or subscribe for more calm, realistic home content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.